Spells, monsters, and crazy power-ups. We're talking about Dragon Quest Dai's adventure today, and I have quite the list of feats to share with you today. This one's going to be a bit of a longer video, and that's alright. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this one. I mean, from massive fireballs to lightning bolts, from quick dodges to running an entire island like extremely quick. Let's look at some of these feats. So, we're going to start with AP here today, and here we see the power of a single killer machine. Those who know the series know what this kind of looks like already. You would recognize this, right? But in one shot, it destroys an entire holy ship. And you can see the size of this ship. Now, in comparing the size of the explosion with the ship, recognizing that it didn't produce shockwaves for the explosive speed, taking the lowest end speeds for minimums, we can find that the explosive yield gives us around this many total joules, or around building level total joules. So that's what we're starting right off the bat with. What we could do instead is try to calc the damage it dealt to the ship, however, if we didn't want to just go with the explosive size compared to, like, you know, the fireball size produced. What we could do is go off how much was destroyed. And that is the primary, that's what I like to focus on. But here's the problem. This is really the only shot we get, so how much was destroyed and to what degree? I mean, especially to what degree? Like, do we take it as fragmentation? We don't see pieces of wood flying everywhere, you know, every which way, so it's like we're not going to use explosive fragmentation. So, based on the ship's size, we can expect around 2,000 meters cubed for a volume of wood for the ship, and in using white oak as the wood, which correlates to this type of ship, very close to like a classical frigate, we can find a total yield of around this many total joules, or higher end of building level. This second method is less accurate, but hopefully it's clear we're dealing with building level total joules, or, you know, just total force right out the gate. That and the killer machine is consistently shown to be only around 10 feet tall, meaning whatever attack it used to create such force would be from a pretty small device, or area, whatever actually caused it. We don't really get to see it later. But still, not bad. See, what's happened by this point is that some people are looking for glory have decided to try and get rid of this girl Leona, princess of Papnica Kingdom. She's been poisoned, needs to be healed, and Dai's friends are being attacked while he's far away on the island next to a volcano. This is where we get to see the awakening of Dai's real power. And just look at what he can do. This here is the force of his first time ever using Raiden, the top tier lightning spell. Yes, you can see it hits the ground near them, but that's not what's impressive. Do you see that massive cloud that is honestly bigger than the volcano itself being split? I mean, Jesus, you can see it clear as day. It's been completely torn through, and let me tell you, clouds are immensely heavy. You don't just split them like that, okay? And especially not at these speeds. You know I'm always going to lowball and using absolute minimums for height, width, and such, and using a lenticular cloud as a basis. What we're looking at is something in the lines of this. Yes, we're talking around large island levels of total force. Now, to be extremely blunt, this assumes one huge thing left to be confirmed completely yet, and that's, are the spells that use elements, the speed, power, or otherwise, to the natural elements. Well, obviously they can be more powerful than the natural, such as this feat, but what about speed? Right now, I haven't read everything yet, and everything to be mentioned is merely the first 20 chapters, believe it or not. Already island level, I know. But I have looked to try and answer this, and I've found a couple things. First, light-based spells reflecting, and that being a weakness of it via the properties, as well as, most importantly for this lightning feat, it having multiple key properties of lightning, including the spell even summoning clouds for the lightning to come down from. Due to especially the clouds coming with it, I will be taking this at natural lightning speed unless shown to be a different speed as I continue to read, and if something else comes up that changes that, then I will absolutely let you know. But from what I have seen, it looks like it has multiple pieces of evidence, so for that, lightning speed for now. And that leads us to the very large island total force. Moving, splitting, just completely separating that much mass of cloud as quickly as it did. What we also see is one of my favorite type of feats, and that's showing great power with nothing more than simple air pressure, baby, the mere byproduct of your power. He uses a normal swing with but the smallest fraction of his Crest's power. I want to make this clear, this was with his Crest's power. This is something he did, such as when he went full power and used his lightning. This did use a small portion of that power, and we see him bisect the demon so fast that he has time to move around, thinking he was completely fine. I mean, you know, kind of that cliche, but I mean, so much time he had, in fact, that he could look behind him to see as much as 17 meters in counting, no less, of water shooting out to the sides before. I mean, I just love feats like this, right? Look, just falling apart. But how strong is this then? In simple terms, very, very strong. But in a bit of a longer look, we can expect about this many joules, or lower end building level total joules, for the air pressure alone, putting the actual full force of the sword in the ballpark of high-end multi-city block total joules. Wow, I mean, even more interesting is the fact a sword isn't even that large, meaning its potency is usually quite high. Basing the size on the blade compared to himself, comes out slightly longer than an average arming blade, and pretty standard otherwise, with but a volume of only 990 cubic centimeters, putting the potency of this attack at a pretty crazy this many joules per centimeter cubed, or around low to mid-end building levels joules for every cubic centimeter. Dang. For context, get this, when we're breaking down the actual potency, since we've been covering part 1 Naruto, thought this would be an interesting little tidbit for you guys watching here. This attack is approximately 19,162 times more potent than Naruto's Rasengan against the water tank. Now that puts it into perspective, yeah? Oh my gosh. In fact, as pointed out, that feat used a very small portion of the Crest power. Let's look at what kind of boost we're getting here. See, later, Avan, someone who was the last hero to defeat the Demon King and now trainer, is having Dai try to cut through a boulder. We can see him try many times, but to no effect. I mean, these are his full power direct blows too. And with rock cutting, we'd expect as much as about, at minimum, 727 joules per centimeter cubed for the feat. As he finally becomes tired, he tries one last time and easily succeeds. The explanation, by the way, was simply that he was too tired to use wasted movements. But he really had to try here, and this shows merely a feat of around this many joules per centimeter cubed, or higher end wall level potency. A direct difference in power of about 192,638 times over, involving just that smallest bit of power from the Crest. I mean, if that's the kind of boost even small portions can give, I can't wait to see what he can really pull off once he's fully mastered that Crest. But from here, Dai has mastered the Earth Slash. He still has the Wind Slash and the Avan Slash to learn, however, so next, let's look at this. Avan's skin will be harder than steel. Let's see if that's the case. It's obviously the case. Dai has more than enough potency to cut into steel, yet has no effect. What we finally see is Wave Slash cutting through the flames and into Avan's dragon nose. Now, importantly, is that this technique is based on speed, and him cutting him was once more a feat of air pressure. This, however, doesn't even remotely compare to his Crest power, but we are seeing some real progress here. Later, we then see Avan against Hadler, the old Demon King who was revived in his youth, and we can see that in them using some of their strongest attacks, it's Hadler who comes out on top, but not significantly, and only because Avan is low on magic power. In fact, we also at one point see Hadler use Bejirama, the strongest of the Jita spells. Jita spells that do have evidence of having light speed. Now, am I sold yet? No, definitely not to like the degree of like the lightning spells, which I've seen far more actual feats for and like proof to back it. But As I continue to read the series, it could absolutely be the case that we're seeing relativistic combat speeds right here on panel. Even more, these two are the most power we've seen thus far, at least from what they've been presenting themselves as, making it so that no one else except for Dai in his absolute full power, like Crest power, actually scales to them. They absolutely could be relativistic to higher, and it wouldn't contradict anything. We haven't really seen fully awakened Dai with his Crest like use like an actual speed feat so much yet. There is one I will show later, but it's not matching up to relativistic. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he can't be. We'll get there. But anyways, we eventually do see Dai with his Crest match Hadler, and even more, tank his aura without moving as much as an inch. Follow this up with his first Avan slash, and wow, you guys, I mean, you consider this guy is the second strongest behind a full power Avan, and this is some crazy scaling. I mean, look, again, everything I'm scaling is within just the first 20 chapters. Hell, we even have evidence that Dai's Avan slash was more powerful than Avan's own, again, while he was with minimal magic. All of these feats are impressive, and there's even more. I mean, look at this. And just, it shakes a whole house from a distance of like, Jesus, look at that thing, right? Like, massive, huge. So yeah, some crazy power, but none of it beats what's already been calced, that's why I'm not calcing that. It's very, very good. Huge AoE though, so it would take away from the full potency. You've already seen some of their best numbers. So, let me finish this AP section with some feats where the numbers mean more. Enter Crocodile. This guy can blow air stronger than Pop's Mara. I mean, it's just his breath. His breath is more than just normal, like, air, you know? It is, like, with fire. But the fact that it's outputting more power than Pop's actual spell, and it's not a spell, and it is, you see him breathe in, means that he's literally doing this with his lungs. And anybody remember the Toguro feat? Alright, like, pretty crazy. But even more crazy is he can pulverize, look at this, multiple meters of rock with a simple swing. No. I mean destruction like this. This is the very next panel. And you can look at the distance where he started off compared to them. I mean, this is another air pressure feat, but this time with destruction on this level. Dang. So you can see some of these numbers here, and note the pulverization of the rock. Not just via the wall itself, but the trench leading up to them and beyond. I mean, dang, the trench alone is at least 10 meters distance. What we're seeing here is at least building level force in the air pressure alone, and high-end multi-city block level total force for the full contact blow, putting the potency only a small bit under Dai's water split feat using just that small portion of his crest. Now, if this used cutting as the jewels, it would far outshine it. But this is not only clearly pulverization, it's impossible. It's impossible for a cut to have caused the damage it did. It was pulverization. Pulverization is a weaker joules per centimeter cubed than pulverization. Breaking a diamond is far easier than cutting a diamond, okay? It also goes for rocks in general. Cutting is more difficult. Still, it's very impressive, and hopefully you have a feel in how powerful just chapter 20 of this manga has already gotten to. Some insane things. So, next, let's talk about speed. Luckily for me, this part is much shorter, and usually I like to work from slowest to fastest, but to do so, I need to show a faster feat first anyway, so here it is. What you're seeing is Avan run the distance of the entire island multiple times, and you can see that he ends up kicking up dust with his running, but it has already settled by the time he's getting back. He has to, you see it being kicked back up as he's finishing up. But he's doing so, all of this feat, running through the enemies no less, and we get a great view of the island as well as the mountains in the back. You can also see some other shots of the island as a whole. When you take the mountains into consideration for the island size as well as these other panels, we can see it's a decently small island and can lowball the total distance he traveled to around 12,000 meters. I mean, absolute minimum. And doing so in about 3 minutes time. Technically, we have no time frame to use, and as you can see, it could be in as little as 1 minute. See, the particles he's kicking up should be heavier ones, and they've already fallen, so the 3-minute or 1-minute mark would be the limit, honestly. This ends up highballing the feat a little bit, but all in all, this is movement speed of around 66.7 meters per second, or sub Mach 0.2, less than 1/5 of Mach 1. Oh, alright, well, let's look at 1 minute's time. This brings it to 200 meters per second, or just under Mach 0.6, so, okay, Well, maybe I'm missing something, or maybe that's really it. Well, let me show you this feat then. Remember how Dai first awakened his Crest power and called down the lightning? See where he is to the mountain, volcano, what have you? Remember the island layout? Again, you can kind of see where the whole layout of the island is. Lastly, do you see that killer machine about to kill Brass, Dai's adoptive father? I mean, he doesn't have long, right? Look how close it is. Dai, while carrying Leona, runs from that mountain to the beach before Brass is stepped on. This would be within a time frame of 1 second at most, at absolute most, and shows speeds of at least 1,800 meters per second, or now we're talking approximately around Mach 5.25. And given Avan scales above this while with full magic, it means he ran the distance he did in at least 7 seconds, that whole island feat. It makes much more sense with how everyone reacted to his running. Not just blankly staring and, I don't know, like waiting for over a minute while he just ran. That'd be kind of weird, right? 7 seconds makes much more sense. Now, as for combat speed, because of course that's just pure running speed, movement speed, we see Dai training after he learned Earth Slash, and he's able to cut 6 boulders as they fall, all before any touch the ground. But it's not even close to, say, Mach 1. Granted, you have to understand, even these running feats from Dai, it's while he's awakened. So you have to understand there's like base Dai, and then there's like awakened, that's what I'm calling it, awakened like Crest powered Dai. Base Dai, just training, he's not even close to Mach 1. But this was then why he in fact trained for the Wave Slash, rapidly increasing his speed. Sadly, we don't really get to know his upper end after he learned Wave Slash, but all of this ultimately comes to this. Hadler's Bejirama. Avan showing combat speed to outperform it, and is it light speed? This is the absolute height of speed potentially being shown for the characters themselves besides the attacks. Such as like the lightning spell, right? That could be X speed, but that doesn't mean that Dai himself is that speed. With everything shown here, even with that light speed potential thing, here's what we're looking for. That little brat, at absolute minimum, I mean at his worst, already scales to around Mach 5.25 for movement speed, and then again using his Crest power, potentially to relativistic combat speed, and as high as island level total joules, though we'll see if it ends up being an outlier as we continue or not. Though in potency, we guarantee, at minimum, this many joules per centimeter cubed, or around that low to mid-end building level joules per centimeter cubed, with his 17-meter ocean split via air pressure multi-city block total joules, with the AoE of but a sword feat. All in all, I've really enjoyed the series so far, so listen, in the comments below, please let me know how you enjoyed this video here, because at the end of the day, that's something that matters most. This is my first time scaling what I consider like from a video game series, though this is from a manga, so kind of has made it a bit easier for myself. But I really hope you know that all of you guys found this interesting. Speaking of interesting, yeah, okay. Puff Puff. Again, I'd only played the games, but yeah, it's explicitly stated to be, well, like this right here. I mean, I think we always kind of knew it was something close, but it was funny finding a sort of confirmation as to what it was exactly. I mean, I just found that pretty interesting. With that said, if you're excited for more Dragon Quest in the future, please comment below. The AP section for Hunter x Hunter is coming next, and I'll finally be stopping my break from Naruto after so I can begin scaling Shippuden. I personally just want to have the absolute full scaling from beginning to end of Naruto so I can once and for all view it under absolute accuracy. I need to have that series broken down all the way. I'll see you all in the next video, and if you enjoyed this one, please consider subscribing for all the new content that will be coming and support the channel. Ciao!
Pastor.